Dr. Malone, Joe Zarzaur here in beautiful downtown Pensacola. It's not really beautiful today, but and I feel like, Dr. Malone, I know we started doing these videos when all this virus stuff started back in, was it March?
Middle of March.
Okay, and the office has been shut down pretty much since March as far as all the staff being here. And I don't know how many weeks it's been 20 plus weeks. I can't remember the exact figure, but I don't recall there being a time during this process where I felt more anxious about the chances of my family and my staff family getting the virus than now. And it's gotten to the point, I think, here in the city where a lot of young people, I say 18 to 35-year-olds, have the virus and are obviously being less than careful, and they are spreading it. And it got, I think, so bad, within the last week or so, we had somebody that potentially was exposed. We all got tested, and I think people that are getting tested are having to wait 5 days, up to 5 days to get results. I know the testing places are inundated with people lined up. I know that the test results themselves are taking longer than usual because everybody's covered up with test samples. And when you look at the numbers, although it's people younger that are infected, it's distressing from the standpoint of, as a whole, more people have it. And obviously the concern is the more people that have it, the more likely it is that somebody that's high risk is going to get it. I guess this is the herd kind of approach, the herd immunity approach, where you basically just let everybody get it that's going to get it. And hopefully the high risk people stay out of the mix. And if they don't, well, that's too bad. So I'm not sure where we are number wise, but I know that you showed me the numbers earlier today and this week, and that the numbers were higher than they've ever been. The percent positive was in the teens, and that's higher than Pensacola has ever been. And that is not because there's more tests. Percent positive has nothing whatsoever to do with the number of tests. It's the percent that are positive, regardless of the number of tests that are done. And so the percent positive is, what is it, 18, 17?
It was 16.9% for the data that was released yesterday.
And I don't know how reliable the data is, but I can tell you that most people that had tests, for instance, this week have no idea. I know a lady that had a test on Saturday. She went to UWF, and here it is, what is it, Wednesday?
Yep.
And she has no idea. She called the place. They told her, we can't tell you anything. She said, well, I heard that if you don't hear within 24 or 48 hours, that necessarily means that it's negative. And they said, no, ma'am, we don't say that, and we can't say that's true or that that's not true. We're telling you that we're backlogged and we don't have your results yet. So I guess the reason I'm saying that is the numbers that we're working off of right this second, percent positive and whatever, percent positive, are likely numbers that are 5 days old or more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're probably Thursday or Friday of last week data, and so we all went and got tested like you said, and it was busy there. So what's the number going to be when those releases come out? And is it going to be the exponential growth?
All right. So since you're a board certified internal medicine doctor, you've been watching this from the beginning with us. We've been doing these videos. I think that all of them are on the YouTube channel, I guess, but you've been doing these videos from day one. We did them daily, and then we started doing them weekly, and then we started doing them when we needed to. Well, guess what? We need to, because we are now setting records here. The state of Florida is setting records. Texas is setting records. California is setting records. Florida is setting records. Escambia County's setting a record. Pensacola's setting a record. And I don't frankly see a leader anywhere, to be honest with you. I don't see in any of those states, I don't see a leader anywhere. Maybe California and Texas, their governors have said some things that seemed helpful. Our governor is working, seems like he's working against the whole precaution method and more in terms of, well, let's just see what happens. I don't want to affect the economy. I get that. I'm a small business owner too. I don't want the economy affected either, but I also don't want to go into hiding again and shut everything down completely again. I'd rather there be a situation where we are smart. We don't have parties. We don't have congregations of people that make this worse. We wear masks. We are mandated to wear masks. And we're smart about this so that our economy doesn't go to the tank again like it did already. So I'm done talking, right? So let me let you as a physician now talk to the numbers, talk to the people about what you think is going on, what you think the real danger is for people that are high risk versus not high risk, what the hospitalizations are, what that data shows you, even though it's 5 days old, so we can get some information from a physician. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess starting at the end of there, as far as hospitalizations, that's the thing that I guess I'm most worried about as far as what the bandwidth of our county hospitals can handle as far as beds and then ICU beds. And right now the bandwidth is there according to the information that's being released on a daily basis. But you have to start wondering, when do these hospitals need to throttle back on some of their other admissions? And I guess, for lack of a better term, elective surgeries or non-acute surgeries, so that you can free up the beds and the ventilators to be ready for that. And, your mention of tanking the economy, that tanks a hospital's economy right there, then just sitting there on ready to take care of sick people that might or might not show up, and so I think that's the scary thing to me as far as,
well, now hold on. If they're filling the beds full of COVID people, they're going to make money off of that. But I guess what you're saying is some of the physicians that are doing elective procedures won't be making money off of that, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And but you're holding beds open that may or may not. I mean, you hope that people aren't sick and needing to use the beds. I mean, that's kind of what happened the first time when we did the lockdown and there was no elective surgeries. Is there was plenty of hospital beds. I mean, there was a surplus.
To be honest with you, Dr. Malone, it seems ridiculous that we went on lockdown in March. To be honest with you, it seems like somebody at some level should have said, look, this disease is in New York. For the most part, this disease is in New York, New Jersey. We're not going to really have the effects of this disease until later. So we shouldn't shut down our economy until a little bit later. I don't understand why that never was discussed. Why wasn't it ever discussed that, I didn't know anybody that had the virus until last week. So, and I know I've talked to people around in different businesses downtown, and I said, did you know anybody that actually had COVID in March? And most people are like, no. Of course, we knew of cases from these nursing facilities, right? But did you know anybody outside a nursing facility that had the virus? I think we had heard a story about the mayor's son, and I don't know if there was other press about certain people that had the virus, but I didn't know anybody personally until last week. And then I knew more than one person last week. And then I heard that there was a whole family that had it. And then I heard that there were staff that were shutting down restaurants, right? That were fully open pretty much the week prior because those people had it. And so all that sort of happened in late June, mid-late June here. We shut down in March and April, it seems like for no reason. And now it's as bad as it's going to get here, or maybe headed that way, and we're not shut down. I feel like we should be taking some local kind of initiative here to slow the spread of the virus. Not shut down, but to slow the spread of the virus. Maybe take the bars back to 25%. Maybe require masks to be worn in all the establishments where there's people inside, whether they're eating or drinking. maybe you limit the number of people at any one event to like 50 or 100, whatever the number is, so that you make sure you don't have a super spread situation. You keep people off the Fort McRae, or make sure they're doing social distancing out there, and have the feds or the Marine Patrol out there, Fish and Wildlife out there, making sure that people are keeping their distance. Talk numbers. Let's hear some numbers.
Yeah. So, and I guess I'll share this so that way people can lay eyes on what we've been looking at every day here. So this is the Escambia County trends for the last couple of weeks. You'll see the dark emerald color is the cases that are coming positive every day, and we're pretty consistently in double digits, which I don't think we were ever in that when we were doing the initial lockdown, as you mentioned, in March.
Right.
And it was like a couple cases here, a couple of cases there.
Dr. Malone, I remember you said you keep it in your notebook, the numbers from the beginning of this to now. And yeah. I remember you said you were writing down the number of cases or percent positive or something.
Mm-hmm.
This graph only shows us June, right?
Yeah, this is June 10th to June 23rd.
But if you looked at a graph that showed you from March 1st to present, wouldn't we be headed straight up right now?
Well, the two highest ones on there would be the 44. The day we had 44, and then today we had 59. It would be the highest ones as far as daily releases. I think back then it was early April we had 40. It was like on a Sunday release or something like that, if I recall. But yeah, nonetheless, we're staying up in double digits every single day, and we weren't doing that back in March and April. We were getting 6 cases, 8 cases, things like that.
And the percent positive, is that important?
Yeah, it is. And so back when we were doing all that, mind you, we're testing a lot fewer. So you're saying, had 8 positive cases, and that was 10% of your load as being positive, So here, for the most recent release, there were 291 tests, I guess, and 17% were positive. That's pretty significant in my view, especially, that's a percentage. It's not based upon the total.
Well,
we were never that high.
In the heat of the shutdown, though, we were at 0.65% positive. I remember it being less than 1%, right?
It did get that low at one point. I guess at the start of the shutdown, around early, late March, early April, I think we were hovering around between 8 and 10%.
What about the hospitalizations? Is that going up, staying the same, or what's going on?
So according to the data here, this is the bottom left I'm looking at, it looks like less than 1% of emergency room visits are resulting in an admission to the hospital, at least related to cough. So I guess that's good news. And then they're only releasing a weekly tabulation here so 2 weeks ago, there was 15 ER visits related to influenza-like illness, and there was 20 ER visits related to COVID-like illness. Well, last week, there was double that for each of those categories. So what's it going to be when they release this week's data? Is it going to be double the next one? And that's that exponential growth that you worry about.
So if you just look at this data, and let's say you accept the data as valid, which I don't know that you can, but let's just do it for purposes of this discussion. Does that mean that people are going to the ER and they're not getting admitted to the hospital?
Yes, that's what that would indicate. So they're going there, they don't feel well, but they're not sick enough to be admitted. It's go home and weather this course, by just managing your symptoms at home.
And 90% of the people or more, right, don't have issues don't have to be admitted to the hospital. What are the numbers nationally of percentage of people that have the disease that end up having to be admitted to a hospital?
I don't have a national number. I don't think that one of those is available, but looking at some of the other states, like in Texas, I think the hospitalization or admissions in Texas that I saw today was a lot more than we have in Escambia County. So they're starting to wonder if they need to start throttling back on what they're doing as far as their elective or their non-urgent admissions there. And I think we're going to get to that point here. The other concerning thing is, I think back in March and April when someone got tested, they did listen to hey, I got to lock myself down until I get a result. And now I don't think that understanding is there. It's yeah, you got tested, So were you symptomatic when you got tested? Because if you were, you got to stay home. If you got tested because, hey, someone in my workplace or someone at somewhere where I went and I was a customer had it, so I'm getting tested, but I don't have any symptoms, you should still be on caution as far as who you're interacting with, because like you said, you're spreading, you don't even know it. So I think that's the scary part of this, that lag.
They're not telling people that. They're not telling people that. People that go get tested, they stick the swab in your throat or up your nose, and they say, thanks for coming, we'll see you later. And they're not saying to you, well, they're taking your name and your phone numbers and your biographical information, but they're not saying to you, you need to stay away from other people until you get these back. They're not doing any of that. So most people that are 20, let's just say they're 20-somethings that are going, because a lot of 20-somethings are going to get tested. They're walking in, they're getting the test, they're leaving, they're thinking, well, somebody's going to pay attention to this. They're not really doing a lot after that. And I'm not sure they're changing their behavior at all, because nobody's telling them they need to. And I don't know that they are thinking that way on their own.
Yeah, and if you had a contact with someone who's a known positive, having a 10 to 14 day, imposed lockdown on yourself is something that's what was going on back in March and April. You'd see that with these staffers for all the different folks that are on TV every day, the staffers for Dr. Burks and all that were tested positive. Like, yep, now they're under a 14-day quarantine because they had a contact with someone, their husband or wife or whatever at home. And you wouldn't see him for 2 weeks then. And Dr. Burks would say, yeah, that's a member of my staff because it's been, at home now. And I don't think that's going on now. So you have, multi-generational homes, or you have roommate situations where one person has it. And so technically the whole house should probably be on lockdown.
Yeah, I was frustrated back in March with the ability to test as a business owner. I'm frustrated in June with the ability or lack thereof to test with quick results. As a business owner, it's impossible to safely advise your staff and your clients or customers about how to proceed when you have no way of testing within a reasonable amount of time the staff. No way. And so it's frustrating. And you have to fall back on the safest method. You have to fall back on, we have to shut down. And we're not allowing clients to come into the office anymore because of the potential that one staff member last week was around somebody that ended up getting diagnosed with it. So we're waiting on her results. We're waiting on our results. And the crazy thing is, we're back where we were pretty much in March, and nobody's telling us to be there. We're just having to do this on our own. And if you're happen to be not as responsible, like I was not very responsible when I was 20-something, I don't know that I'd be paying attention to the self-isolation, especially in the summer when everybody's, having fun on the weekends, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to keep a close eye on this stuff, right? And we're going to report back tomorrow or Friday, depending on what happens tomorrow. And we will get back to you guys then. If you have questions about the virus, about anything personal injury related, you can always find us on the web at zarzaurlaw.com, or you can call us at 855-HIRE-JOE. The email address is info@zarzaurlaw if you have a question for Dr. Malone or myself in regards to either COVID stuff, or he'll answer those, or any personal injury matter. Y'all take care. Be safe. Be smart. Wear a mask. Self-isolate. If you've been around anybody, ask your friends if anybody knows anybody that's been diagnosed, so you can find out, because people aren't even telling you that. And then if you find that out, go get tested. There's his mask with it. Thank you, Dr. Malone. Y'all take care. See you.
Bye now.